Welcome, everybody, to the Onward VR Master League Season 13, week... Oh, gosh, what is it? Week 9. 10. Excuse me. Venues Showcase. I think we had the wrong title, too. We are just coming from the ProTude Stack Up Charity Tournament. If you haven't already donated to that link, we will be posting it in Twitch chat, YouTube chat, and Facebook chat for you to go ahead and contribute into what has been a great charity initiative so far. But here today is regular season gameplay, and my name's Nightfire with 2E, along with my co-caster Grenade Magnet to deliver the action to you. Grenade, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. It's been a good day for kicking off a holiday weekend here in the U.S., so looking forward to some Onward tonight.
Yeah.
Relaxing.
Yeah, a real scorcher. Hopefully everyone is at home in an AC environment enjoying the action here this afternoon. For those tuning in, this is Onward. It is a 5 versus 5 military simulator. The idea of the game is that the attacking team, the blue team, the Marsoc team, is attacking the objective, which is being defended by the orange team, the Volk team. The goal is to get within a certain radius of the designated objective, enter in a 7-digit code, and secure your team 2 points. If you eliminate the opposing team, that gets you 1 point, and so that is the general pattern of the gameplay. Every round we swap sides so that each team gets the chance to defend the objective, and every 2 rounds the objective changes location. Now, if all this seems confusing to you, don't you worry, your little hearts will be reminding you about it throughout the course of the game. But just imagine your standard sort of search and destroy style gameplay. That's what we're in here for this afternoon, obviously all in VR. And if you're looking beneath me here, you may see a lot of TBDs. This is our map pick phase, where each team gets to ban a map. The home team bans first, the away team bans second. Then the home team gets to choose a map. The maps are picked from a designated map pool that is chosen at the start of the season. And I mean, what are we thinking from these bans coming in here, Grenade, from both VR Militia and the Misfits? Oftentimes when we look at bans, there's some sort of strategical choice to them, right?
Yeah, these guys are not seeming why you want to play larger maps today, especially Downfall being a much open map. Really a lot of corners to hide in buildings. In the Snow Peak, you kind of go in and outside depending on the objective. It can be very, very close quarters. It can be a very, very far distance. I just don't think either of these teams really want to play that. We do have one more map that could be in rotation here, abandoned, but based on the statistics from both sides, I don't think we're going to go there tonight.
Yeah, it's seeming like we're in store for some quick action here this afternoon. Our first map of the day is going to be Suburbia. That is a close quarters map with a lot of potential to have things go by very quickly. There's a lot of walls and bushes that can be shot through that are penetrable, and so it's kind of a chaotic map in a lot of ways. Some teams thrive in controlling that chaos and are able to sort of slow things up, slow things down a little bit as they play a map like Suburbia. Other teams excel in the chaos. You know, they try and drive themselves to it. They try and force the chaotic plays with smokes and nades and flashes and utility. And, I mean, what do you think we're in store for here this afternoon? I mean, obviously, VR Militia and the Misfits are 2 teams that are relatively new to the league, right?
Yeah, Misfits has started off this season at the beginning. Of course, so we've had 10 weeks of experience so far. They've had 10 weeks of hard fought matches. A lot of these were against higher tier teams that have been playing for many, many years. Just because of the way the matchup rankings work, you kind of have to figure out where people fall in line throughout the season. So early on, it can be a bit odd.
Yeah, they definitely got their inoculation into the higher tiers. Going up against a squad like Mayhem, you know, you really get a good feel for what the top tier of Onward can look like. And they did score some points against them, which is impressive in and of itself. To be a brand new team and compete up against veteran players like that is fun to see. And I'm curious to see what we get here this afternoon. I do kind of anticipate a pretty good back and forth here, you know? I mean, obviously, these teams, again, are in that bronze division. So, you know, the rank that typically new teams do get pushed into. Sometimes a fresh team will have that sort of lightning in a bottle success, and I think that's what Misfits saw early in the season, you know, and then that kind of pushed them up into, hey, can you handle this? And whether they could or couldn't, they are now here at this their current rank and up against an opponent that I think is going to give them a pretty good run for their money. So excited to see. We are just waiting for the 5th to join for VR Militia. Over on the Misfits sides, we do have an active roster. Big Mac Tree Man, Robbie, Pogger Man, Panda, and Milwaukee Master. And over on VR Militia, still waiting for that 5th, but Kid K, Viperion, Kevin, and No 23. Hopefully they don't have to dip into the substitute pool for that 5th, and they can bring in someone that's on their rostered team because, again, I think both squads are really going to need to be locked in here this afternoon.
Yeah, and I've casted the Misfits a couple of times in the past 10 weeks here, and I have seen some good action off of Poggerman, Big Mac Tree, and Moeke, particularly here on Suburbia. I believe, if I remember correctly, Poggerman was one of the top fraggers for the team here when we had that fight. Particularly playing around the playground part of the map to be a little bit more precise. They seem to be succeeding very well in that region. So there might be ones to keep an eye on, and they may not. We'll see what happens here tonight, because you can have your good nights, you can have off nights. Different teams, obviously, that your opponent as you're facing can throw you off a little bit as well. With different play styles. So we'll have to keep an eye on those 3 for the night.
Yeah, only a few more minutes until we actually have to start the round per rules and regulations, and so hopefully VR Militia are looking to fill that spot. You know, one thing that we do have, it's a nice feature of the league that's implemented during the regular season, is the sub roster, where essentially if you do not want to join a team, or maybe you're new to the league and kind of want to get your toes wet in playing things competitively, you can join as a reservist. And what this means is when a team is down a player or 2 and needs to bring in some extra help that they don't have actively rostered on their team, they can go and contact that reservist pool that is filled with players and say, hey, I need somebody within this rank to play for me. And so kind of a good tool that we have implemented within the league that allows folks to fill their rosters if they need to, ideally not having to go into a 4v5 scenario. And so that could be what is in store for us here this afternoon, in which case the Misfits could be looking at a nice, well, at least an advantage to start their rounds, which, you know, you couldn't ask for much more than that. But I imagine that the VR Militia will, if they can't get their 5th for the first couple of rounds, will continue to hunt for that 5th. Maybe one of their teammates is in some sort of time constraint. You know, who knows what the possibilities are around the scheduling and all of that. But we are here to catch the action, and we will catch the action once it does unfold. So appreciate everyone that is stopping by here this afternoon and patiently waiting for the start of round 1. If you are tuning in on Facebook, YouTube, or Horizon venues, we do appreciate you. We will be trying to do giveaways here in the coming weekends, sort of getting ready for the postseason of Season 13, which is going to be very hype. You should also see some new caster faces getting in here onto the casting desk. So if you were tired of myself or Grenade Magnet, you'll have some new folks joining the team soon enough. But yeah, very much looking forward to, obviously, this game coming up, but that postseason, which is in the near future. We're branding it as Fall Fest. It's actually a multitude of postseasons culminating around the dates, around the end of October and November, and it's going to be a lot of VR esports, and at the highest level. So it's going to be some very good content to be tuning into. Whether you like Echo Arena, Snapshot, or Pavlov, I would recommend that you do keep your eyes peeled on the marketing and make sure that you are aware of when these dates are going to be going live, so that you can catch all of the action, because again, it is going to be multiple weekends packed of postseason action for multiple leagues. So a lot of hype around that for sure, but again, looking forward to just a regular season battle here between these two. Still waiting on that 5th, which is again why we're here, waiting to get into the action. We have a rule in place that 15 minutes after start time, the teams should start their game. Now we'll see if that is going to be the case here. Maybe. Oh, look at that! The timing. I mean, they couldn't have brought it. They couldn't have had it more down to the wire here. Grenade. They got Gold Badger, their 5th, in with maybe seconds to spare, and we should be getting into round 1 shortly. Is that a rostered player or a sub?
That is a roster player. That's actually
Okay.
the team captain.
Oh.
So I heard there were some audio issues earlier.
Okay.
So this
Right.
may have been the case still. Nonetheless, we are here, so we should be starting up in the next minute or so. With that said, we are starting off in the northwest corner of the map on the Humvee. And this one is pretty capable if you have a whole bunch of smokes just kind of really flooding the entire space. Like, you have kind of a really good amount of yard space. And the smokes, while they look volumetric to us, they're a little bit more volumetric in game. Like, our perspective isn't 100% of what they're seeing because we're in a casting camera compared to the players in the VR headsets themselves. So that can lend a little bit of an advantage to them, while it may seem a little bit different to us. But if you put 2 or 3 good smoke placements in here in the yard around the sandbags or in front of the Humvee, you can get a couple of guys in real quick and get onto the tire and put in that 7-digit code. And if you do it right, in theory, it's not too hard.
No,
but
it
that's in
isn't.
theory.
We'll see if either of these teams can deploy tactics like that. Would love to see that kind of level of utility use for our first round, which we are now finally hopping into. You patiently waited for it, and we are now delivering you the action here this afternoon. It's VR Militia versus the Misfits, with the Misfits starting on defense. And again, having to defend from this potential threat of smokes and utility. We see a C4 getting tossed out to deter exactly what you're talking about. But there's multiple ways to attack this objective, Grenade, and it looks like we're seeing the opposite play deployed here by Militia, where they are likely to stack this side of the street with heavy smokes, try and cross if they can get rid of Panda, and then push onto the north side.
Now, on the far east side of the map, we do have Kadei, who does, after a few rounds and even a reload, get Panda down with a headshot on the back Hesco there. That does give them one other player in that area, so it's not entirely knocked out, but that does at least help them kind of progress up to the street with a little bit more safety. And as I say that, the player who was backing that player up, Panda, did rotate all the way back to the uplink. This give them the freedom to kind of attack from behind the buildings here. And as I say that, Viper is getting shot at, but the smoke does give a little bit of cover, or at least concealment for it.
Yeah, the second smoke coming out from lane 3 helped a lot for Viper to get here behind the Hescos, but they get a little greedy on the hunt for the kill. It ends in a trade, so no cross to push over to Milwaukee, but they're still here on this side. The remaining 3 of VR Militia, they're going to try and utilize the remainder of this smoke. Gold Badger is going to be able to get across, but they're detected, and a lot of shots do come in from Big Mac, but don't connect.
Poggerman is really kind of holding it down here on the center part of the map on the hedges, but they are out in the open, so if somebody from VR Militia did come through, they could actually pre-fire through the hedges and take them out. But right now, it looks like they're going to be relatively safe to at least advance into lane 3 between these 2 eastern buildings and maybe surprise No 23.
We'll see if that is their intention, as Big Mac does manage to get back into the north side. They call out the cross, and Milwaukee is there, ready and waiting on the north side. They've been defending for this cross and waiting for it. They finally do catch a kill. There's still 2 more left, No 23 and Kadei, and we'll have to see how the duo tries to work something together here. Maybe Poggerman will become a threat soon, but for now, Kid K is almost protecting against that potential flank.
Yeah, and I haven't seen them move since they encountered Panda earlier on. They do have 3 minutes remaining, so they at least have the time advantage here. But really, the Misfits are kind of holding steady in around the uplink area, just defending it. So this is really kind of just wasted time instead of letting No 23 or Kadei kind of try to peek out and a little pick apart the team one by one.
Yeah, and we mentioned there's 2 ways to win. You can cap the objective, or you can eliminate the opposing team. There is a third, in that if the defending team survives for the next 2.5 minutes, for a total of 6.5 minutes per round, then they will take the round W. And so Misfits don't need to push out and go for the hunt on VR Militia. They can let them come to the objective, because if the enemy team does not push to the objective and capture it, or does not eliminate the defending team, then they will lose when the time runs out. So there is sort of a time limit. I mean, there is a time limit here for the attacking team that they have to abide by, and eventually No 23 and Kid K will have to try this cross or try something to push out to this objective, but I don't know if they have any utility left, and as they tuck in to get ready for the cross, Big Mac's going to ID at least one of them.
It's only a down, so they are able to talk through the radio, but Big Mac really should put an additional couple of rounds in here. It looks like No 23 was wearing body armor to at least deter a couple of those bullets.
And at 39 on the clock. And it does look like Kid K is going to be able to get over here and get this res. Is Milwaukee going to be watching? Oh, they're here, and they go too far out to get the res. Milwaukee is there and waiting to catch the kill out. Misfits, with 3 left alive, defend the attacking team, defend the objective, and take their first round. Now, if you're wondering what happens next, the teams swap sides, meaning that VR Militia get their chance to defend the objective, and the Misfits have to attack the objective. We do this every round, with every 2 rounds, the objective changing location. And the real thing I like about Onward Grenade is that you never know what you're going to get, right? There's always that randomness, because there's more than 4 objectives. You can only play 4 objectives in a map, and there's more than 4 objectives to be placed on a map.
Yeah, and I at least had one observation from a team member, my own team. At least with Subway, there is a pattern, but we have not been able to identify them for Suburbia or other maps. So it's a little interesting to kind of see that when you're popping in on Subway, you kind of at least can identify where you're going next, but it really doesn't help you much. It's just kind of like, all right, you know where you're going. That's about it.
Well, see. And so now I think you have to put your tinfoil hats on, okay, Grenade, before you debut a theory like that on me, all right? Because there is only 5 objective spawns on Subway, and so you could, by process of elimination, yes, you can sort of figure out where you're likely to head, and so maybe you've just been accurately estimating where you're going because of the limited choices.
True. It could be.
But I think that's deep conspiracy stuff. I've never heard anything like that in my time around. But I like it. We'll have to see what the audience thinks at home, if that's true or not. Anyway, back into the action we go for round number 2. VR Militia versus the Misfits, duking it out. And again, we swap sides, so the Misfits are on the attack and VR Militia are defending the same objective.
Now we are seeing Kevin duck down here on the Volk side. Because of the fact that there is a small little angle you could pre-fire in on the Volk spawn area. And you can also do the same right back at the Marsoc, where Misfits are throwing early smokes and frags out. An excellent throw directly onto the uplink, but not going to connect on anything there. Looks
early
like
smokes.
The Misfits. Yeah, Misfits are going to throw the smokes and then go the opposite direction instead, with Panda and Robbie really kind of hunching in on Kevin here. A flashbang up and over does connect on Panda, with Kevin running in, does not actually get Robbie ultimately, so they do go down.
Kid K catches Poggerman over by the Humvee, and now Big Mac's trying to battle it out. They find the kill. We go back to the duo, who's now advancing through to the objective, and in a very quick bit of gameplay here, we have 2 left for Militia, 4 for Misfits, and they're looking like they got themselves a nice advantage here. Good utility coming in from Militia with flashes and counter flashes on the defensive side of things. It almost works as they almost catch out Milwaukee rotating there. I need someone phonetically tell me how to pronounce that one. But either way, they are doing a pretty decent job of holding down with just the 2 of them and preventing what could be a cap attempt right now. They don't know, as that smoke is blinding them.
Yeah, and again, we're seeing more smokes from Misfits, but where they're not really capitalizing on the uplink being entirely smoked out and really open to getting that code in. So they're now getting picked apart as Viperion seems to get 2 there. Oh, wait, yeah, 1, sorry. Yep. And that does eliminate their top fragger, Big Mac. So Panda is going to be coming out here into the open where Viper could peek up and see this attempt to come in.
Could go both ways. Viper pops up, doesn't check down. Moaki is pushing around to the side here. I go Moa. That's going to be easier for him. Moa pushing onto the side here in a battle just over the top. Very minor exposure there, but it does end in a kill. Gold Badger picks up No 23 and a reminder that No was down that whole time, radioing in information to the team. When you're downed and not dead, you can radio in information, and so maybe that was vital in helping this team defend. Now Panda is able to scoop up 2. No 23 rotating behind Badger, and then Bagger getting scooped up. Misfits hang on to their attack and take a 2-0 lead. But let's look at the KDs. I always like to do this, Grenade, because even though there's a disparage in scores, VR Militia are connecting. I mean, 2 kills apiece for Kid K and Viper, 1 for Goldbagger. I think they're still very much in this one, and if Misfits get a little bit overconfident, could spell bad news for the likes of VR Militia. We should be changing objectives. I wonder if the lobby bugged, but we should be going to a new objective.
I think we changed early, because we were on Humvee for only 1 round, and then we moved over to Red Car.
Weird. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. But looking at those KDs still, if VR Militia do ultimately get Big Mac or Moake or Moa down,
Moake, there you go. I like thank you.
Then they do at least eliminate a top fragger on that side, and that does give them a little bit more of the potential to keep that kill momentum going. As long as Big Mac or Moake are kind of knocked out, that at least leaves Poggerman, who's 0-1, and then Robbie with an even 2-2 there. That kind of leaves them to pick up the slack and have to try to bump up their kill efforts a little bit more as they do push in or defend.
Into our next round we go. Round number 3. And we are actually going to stay on this red car objective. So it does seem like a strange lobby bug, but the teams are just playing through it, I suppose, as we had 1 round on 1 objective. It is supposed to be 2 rounds apiece, and we now have that, where the Misfits are now getting their chance to defend, and VR Militia are attacking as we go into round number 3.
Please be good. I think that was good.
Ooh, an early frag out almost hits Kevin in the shoulder.
This is an aggressive defense from the Misfits. They're feeling good on their 2-0, and now they're applying heavy pressure on the defense with Panda pushing up here, looking to tag Goldbagger. Meanwhile, counter flashes coming in here to try and deter this aggression, but Bagger's not going to be ready. They go right past Panda. Well, 2 go down as Milwaukee catches 1 and Panda catches the other. Kid K is using this smoke to actually cross past the vision of Panda, but Poggerman is there to hold things down, and VR Militia are suddenly cut down to just 2 out the gate on what was a very aggressive and coordinated play here from the Misfits. And I mean, this is what you sort of anticipated, Grenade, is these guys certainly did display some good plays that they had in their pockets.
And now we're in a 1v4 with a revive situation. It is not looking good for VR Militia. Viper is going to have to be careful as Moake is coming up over here and going to tag out No 23, making this a 1v4 officially. And with those shots, they do know relatively where Moake is now. Looks like we're seeing that laser come in, and Misfits with an aggressive push do ultimately take the round.
Yeah, and this is unfortunate because this is VR Militia's map choice, so the fact that they're not really finding much success here is certainly going to impact how the rest of this series unfolds, because Misfits will get to choose into their comfort zone for map number 2, and if they can win map 1 here, it's going to obviously be a pretty good space to be going into. They can lock in a Series W. In the VRML, we always play all 3 maps, however, because every round matters. If you can win by 12-0, that's going to give you more advancement in rank than winning 12-12, which isn't possible, but just as a as an example, that will get you less points than if you were to win 12-0. And so the idea being that the teams are incentivized to play their hardest for all 3 maps, no matter what the scoreline really is. And so we'll have to see if VR Militia can bounce back, because again, they are still finding kills. I mean, even in that round, they still did find a kill or two. But it's a matter of really kind of just putting it together as a team and maybe starting to read how this Misfits squad is playing. I mean, we're going to that burning building objective next, and so it's an opportunity for this team to really actually play a pretty passive defense and force this Misfits team into them, like they did in their last round, which almost worked out for them on defense at the red cars. So, you know, it's really all about how you play it. Do you continue to sort of throw yourself at your opponent, or do you start to kind of read what their pacing is and adjust accordingly? And that's a hard skill to get, don't get me wrong. That takes practice as a team.
Yeah, and you only have 1:30 between each round to plan for your current one, so you really have to be able to identify that, discuss it quickly, and make those kind of adjustments all within the first 30 seconds, and then say, okay, how are we going to then take that
what's the
for
plan?
the planning of this, Nick? Yeah.
Let's see what Misfits put on display here as we go back into the action for round number 4. Misfits on the attack, VR Militia on the defense, and some early smokes coming in, trying to get that smoke up and over the top, but it doesn't go. I think they maybe wanted to smoke the windows there. But this is going to be an aggressive play here. A lot of smokes coming in early.
And one smoke was a missed throw because it did land too far back, but No 23 with a little bit more extra pre-fire coming through these smokes might be able to tag Panda at least. Robbie does take out Viper, who was pushing a bit too far out on this BMP here. Does give them the ability to really push all the way in and get around on the side of No 23, get that PKM out of the action there. Goldbagger also around the corner though with a flashbang is going to connect.
Flash, don't push.
Goldbagger flashes, tries to swing, tries to catch Robbie. The call-outs there, so nice from Robbie to set up their teammate for success as Kid Cape tries to hold on to things in a 1v3 now. They do have their back exposed. Shots are coming in. They could have capped, but instead they take the kill. That could have been 5-0, but Misfits do take the round win with 3 left alive. And still, I mean, kills still coming through for VR Militia. You know, they're certainly battling their way up against Misfits, but couldn't quite weather that storm. And, you know, to the point, I don't think VR Militia has had a single game of theirs cast this season. You know, they are a team that is relatively new to the league, you know, coming in season 12, but I don't know how long really they were in season 12, and now playing in season 13, you know, really getting an opportunity to sort of spread their wings a little bit and get used to the league. Hopefully that this cast will be a good opportunity for them to maybe recognize some of those gaps in coverage. One thing I'm also sort of hearing, you know, is just more communication from the Misfits side of things. You know, I'm hearing more comms from that team. I am still hearing good comms from Militia. It's required, really, if you want to play competitively. You know, at any rank in Onward, you have to be able to communicate. And it still does separate teams, especially at the bronze level, from success to not success, because that communication is vital. You have no minimap. You have no radar. You know, you have no means of gathering information other than through comms.
Yeah, and a little bit of effective communication really can go the long way for you in a short term, with even a couple of minutes in a map being like, hey, he's at this exact car.
Yeah.
He's at this HESCO. He's at this barrier nearby the uplink, or in a kind of, there's callouts officially for every single map that the players can really study and really get that pinpoint accuracy with where they're facing. But that communication really in general being like, hey, he's over in this direction near the uplink, it can go a really long way for early on as you are in the tiers of the bronze and the silvers.
And there was a moment in that round in map 1 where it was Big Mac Treeman identified a crosser and took shots at them, but then I didn't hear any, hey, this player is here. You know, and that is, again, that real separation. As soon as you see something, as soon as you take shots, and then they're out of your vision, the reflex has to be to radio that data into your team. Because to your point, if they had maybe identified that defensive position earlier, things could have been different for them. But either way, a pretty decent round coming in from VR Militia. And now we go on to their map pick, which is Cargo. And I'm curious how this will shake out for them, because Cargo is even more intense than Suburbia, you know, in terms of utility use, smoke use, you know, flash and nades. it is. It rewards the utility use much more, and we did see a lot of it coming in from both teams. So I expect to see more of that here on Cargo. It's just a matter of who is going to be successful with it, and do we continue to see what has been now, in my opinion, sort of pedal to the metal aggression from the Misfits, because they've got things going right now.
And looking at the stats on the site for Misfits, they are 4-1 on Cargo, so a 25% win rate with 18 rounds played, 6 rounds won.
Okay.
So
an opportunity then.
yeah, I think it's one of their second or third map choices here.
No, 4-1's a 75% win rate.
Sorry, they played 4 times, they won 1
Okay.
time.
Makes more sense. Bush is coming in here from the Misfits, though. Smokes are out, and good coverage, good comms I'm hearing from the Misfits, identifying clear positions. They've already got 1 kill out the gate. I think that was from a nade. Kid K here catches out the rotation from MacTreeMan, trying to get into the yellow building. A nice kill there.
And right now, even that death, Misfits is really approaching this online. They're all at the midway point on the map, very well coordinated here, covering a few different angles, which is a good sign for them on Cargo here.
You know you want it, don't
Ooh, Kid K with a little trash talk catches Panda out on the corner, trying to bait them out. Whether that's what they did or not, it does find the kill. And oh, it's still 3 up and through the center. They're still pretty close to objective, still danger close, dare I say. But there's another big pickup from Kid K. They're really excelling here in defense. This could be the first round for VR Militia on the board, as there's only 1 left for the Misfits.
Yeah, and they're holding a couple of critical angles here, covering this uplinks approach. Viperion is holding a really late but critical angle, and that does give them a good advantage of, like, hey, Pogramy's got to get up and through this area no matter what. This is a great angle to be holding for them.
Res still. Viper goes down, a big kill. They do take damage, though, and here's the question. Can they get the res in time? Because Kid K is coming in for the flank, and they catch them out in the open. Panda didn't get picked up. I don't even know if they knew Panda was resable, because, again, I didn't hear any calls from Panda. I didn't hear any communication that, hey, I need a res. And it's only until after that teammate dies in front of them that I hear them go, "Oh shoot!" You know, like it's it's the communication that we're seeing, I guess, from both sides there. Because the Misfits, I was just complimenting on their comms, and then we don't see it there. So, you know, again, one of those things that teams get better at as they develop, and not necessarily something I'd expect out of bronze teams, but still, it is good to hear what I am hearing. So, either way, I'm happy to be here and enjoying the action, and it's good to see VR Militia get on the board grenade.
Yeah, I was listening to VR Militia a little bit more there, and I think it was Kevin who was actually calling out where exactly the last 1 or 2 were. With Cargo being such a small map, you really can use your voice without having to use the radio, and that can lend to a good advantage because you don't take your hands off the gun. All you gotta do is call it out relatively loud, and you're half the team, if not a quarter of the team, because of your proximity of where you are around everybody else in the containers. It really can give you a bit of a boost as to where things are and coordinate your efforts of directionality.
Yeah, it's, again, vital to success in a game like this, in the military simulator that is Onward. And so, something that we do just sort of end up paying attention to. And it's something I don't even really talk about very much when we're into the higher tiers, because it is so, you know, it is Echo 5, Echo 4, you know, consistent, constant callouts where they're identifying down players very quickly. You know, they have quick callouts for a reason, because to your point, the limited time they have with their gun, with their hand off their gun, the better. And so you just have a bit more developed, even a sense of callouts there that we don't necessarily pay attention to very often. But either way, we're getting back into the action. We've rambled on enough about comms, and we'll see how Misfits defends here as we go into round number 2.
This is what Call of Duty
Mwake with a little bit of humor with his pistol there. Robbie with a good smoke for covering at least the first part of the map here. I don't think it went exactly where he wanted. I think he went a little bit farther out.
I think they wanted it up at the gap where it's not now, and Robbie's just going to push in. Gold Baggers here. Militia is charging forward. They're looking for a 2-0 lead. A flash, unfortunately, comes in and blinds Bagger.
Flash it.
Kid K also, I think, blind as Kevin does push up. More utility coming in. More flashes getting called for, at least, as Kevin flies in through the center and catches a big double. Opens up the entry here. Tablets out. Poggerman doesn't see it. They're not checking. They're not aware. This could be a cap for VR Militia. They could push this thing up 3-0, but Poggerman turns just in time. Shuts down the cap. Viper's here. Kills everywhere. Kid K's behind Big Mac Tree, and they find the kill. We're into a 1v2.
Viperion coming out with a tablet again. No is also in the back there, but not really giving us much support except for a few extra rounds of distraction. Big Mac lets it go underneath his nose.
What is happening here this afternoon, Grenade? I am thrown off a little bit because now we're looking at a 3-0 on Misfits map choice, but the VR Militia are the ones that have it. They just suffered a heavy loss on Suburbia where they were certainly competing for it. I saw someone actually say in chat, I think this is just VR Militia getting warmed up still. They don't quite look like themselves yet. And maybe that was the case. Maybe it just took a map of Suburbia and a loss to kind of get things refocused, and they certainly are looking better here. I mean, a cap, that's great for them to be locking in 3-0 here up against their, the Misfits.
Yeah, and there were 2 attempts there. The first one was a little bit long, and the smoke dissipated on them just at the wrong point in time for them.
Yeah.
So that was a critical timing point.
I'm also
I don't know. Go ahead.
No, just on a different... To go back to the communication topic, because we're on a delay, I'm also seeing topics about clicks being a means of communicating. That's also a pretty common method where you actually don't talk to them because comms are open to the public. But either way, I mean, maybe Misfits are just kind of getting caught off guard. You know, maybe a bit of false sense of maybe overconfidence, if you will, off of that 4-0 win on Suburbia, because they certainly weren't ready for the aggression from VR Militia, and frankly, neither was I.
Yeah, and VR Militia took a little bit of an interesting route on that. 4 push tunnel. That's a death trap because the doorway is your smallest point, and one good round of like fire could actually take down 1 or 2 people, and if not all 4 in there with a full mag. So it was a bit dangerous, but it worked well for them. The fact that they were at least able to get out there and kind of keep that push going forth.
Let's see how VR Militia defends for what could be Map 2 win, taking us to a Map 3 decider. Certainly would be exciting. We're not quite there yet, though. We still have what could be a long comeback for the likes of Misfits as we do go to an objective that is commonly capped. If they do deploy a successful smoke play here, they may find the opportunity, and they're off to the races with a nice kill with Big Mac Treeman challenging Node 23 on the cross.
Viper is peeking a little bit more, does get one, but ultimately does get taken out by Poggerman in the end. A bit peaky there, but Big Mac does at least get one more out there on the left-hand side of the map.
Couple go down. Viper's resable. They also have a disconnect. Kevin's pushing up here to get the res and should be able to get it in time. Poggerman's right around the corner, and it's a double inside the crate. Poggerman doesn't cap, but a kill, 2 kills nonetheless, and eliminating the defensive team nets the Misfits 1 point. 6-2 for Big Mac Treeman. They're absolutely popping off to catch what was a ton of kills on the side.
Now their approach was pretty good overall. Like they spread out, they kept the team to the middle points of the map and a little bit on the right hand side as they approach in. With the diamond, you could basically run right up and cap within 15 to 19 seconds if you're fast on the tablet. I think the key thing that really kind of lent them some ground game and kills was the fact that they all stayed in line again in the center point as they all pushed in. They pushed in together as a team. That you usually don't see in a bronze kind of a level with the coordination, but this is going to help them at least on the cargo side, which is also interesting. We didn't see that really on Suburbia.
No, and it's just things are just kind of, the heat has turned up a little bit. As hot as it is here in my apartment, it is getting hotter in the game, and so impressive to see these teams executing like this again at this level. It's great to see. It's, to me, an indicator that, you know, there's just a wealth of skill within the VRML, you know, that overall the general sort of bar of entry is higher than it really used to be. And this is why I always love tuning into the bronze matches, to really see what the new players are bringing to the table, because this is the future, right? Maybe the Misfits, they can start to get their plays together a little bit, even just a little bit more. You know, they'll start finding success in silver, gold, diamond. Maybe in a season or two, we see one of these teams or both up in the top of the ladder. You know, it's all a matter of progress and progression. And to have this good of a start is certainly promising for both squads. So exciting to see, and happy that we did tune into this bronze match this afternoon. And again, shout out to the folks that are enjoying the action here today, as we do have a bunch of folks hanging out in Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, and on Horizon Venues Worlds now, I think, is the official branding. If you can access these Venues games in the Worlds environment, but I haven't tried it yet, so I need someone to tell me how it is. But it's a great way to enjoy the action. You can watch these games on a movie theater size screen. You can see us much bigger in front of you with your headset on, and you can also enjoy the action with other people around you. So I would recommend checking it out. If you do have a Quest or Quest 2, you can download it for free and watch the action like you're at a live event. Back into it we go, though, for round number 5, as both teams continue to duke it out, and VR Militia are just looking to take this to a map 3 decider. They just need to lock in one more round.
Come on, we got Vice, we got Kevin.
I'm seeing a little bit of a almost a late start from a few on the Misfits. They were hanging out in the back, just letting time kind of expire instead of pushing forward. But we do have a misthrown smoke that does ultimately help with some pre-fire concealment for Robbie.
Yeah, Viper also was able to push up here pretty free because of that smoke, and a lot of fire flashes coming in over the top. I wonder if that flash actually hit Viper. Either way, they are trying to work their way forward, and it looks like Misfits are ready and waiting for this push. Milwaukee is prone and waiting. They've already got one. Big Mac has managed to push up and is holding the big open cross. And so they really are going to need a heavy utility dump to push forward here. So maybe that's the plan, though. Maybe Militia are just actually shifting the pace of things a little bit, buying some time before they do decide to push in. We'll have to see.
Yeah, it can lend a bit of a confusion advantage because of the fact that you're usually expecting a quick charge in from the Marsoc side, as they want to not sacrifice any ground as much as possible. And as we see Big Mac all the way up here on the far right of the map here, they do have a late cross, and we're able to get pretty far up without actually getting pre-fired too. So maybe that late start kind of is going to give them a little bit of a hard time later on.
Oh, they better hope so, because they keep losing one or two at a time. Although there's a nice pickup, another one on defense, and there's a double from Wake as they scoop up another in the doorway. Number 23 is all alone in their efforts in a 1v3, which isn't impossible. They certainly can overcome the odds here. It's just a matter of being ready for Milwaukee to peek out on the corner again, and they are not. That's going to be Misfits taking 2 in a row, barreling forward in the path to their comeback.
It's good for them to keep this momentum up because they can potentially tie it up here as we do shift locations onto the gas tank now. If they keep this momentum going, this is another cappable one. They are within the capping range to take the map still. So we can't count them out to fully. They are in a great position to at least close the map out still. All they have to do is put a few extra smokes in on the area and just basically kind of play it smart, getting everybody in as quick as possible and as safe as possible.
Yeah, we'll have to see what the play looks like and if they are going to get aggressive, because that aggression also is a double-edged sword, right? You could end up throwing yourselves into your opponent's defensive line and giving them that fourth point to take the map that is Misfits map pick. So we'll see what the strategy is. Maybe we'll see something similar to what VR Militia deployed, where they're trying to be a little bit more patient on the offensive rollout. But either way, this is a exciting cargo. Much better than I anticipated, just because Militia really seemed to turn things on with that first round point in the cap. The trouble, of course, coming out so hot and getting a cap like that is now they could really be kind of cooling down. 2 points getting locked in by Misfits. It really could be an opportunity for them to kind of start running away with these rounds and take a 4-3 win.
And if they don't get this cap in, they're at least, but they win. They're at least back in on the defensive position,
Yeah.
making this a 3-3 tie
Right.
with a defensive kind of a advantage at that point. Because all you got to do is really cover the uplinks approaching and sit down, and then you're done. As long as you aren't peeking aggressively or anything, but.
I'm being told that it's Viper Ion.
Viperia. Oh. I'll have to try to remember that there.
Be a tough one, but I appreciate the assistance. As 3 do get across on defense, so they're going to be able to pretty comfortably set up around objective. Looks like Misfits are actually setting up on the opposite side. They're going to be looking to come in from the west, but the east is oftentimes the easier route. Well, let's see if Milwaukee can find success. Smokes are coming in. Look pretty good.
I go 4.
Robbie does go down from Kevin, who was watching a bit of an odder different angle here, with also Kadei covering the cross on that. They do have a late angle approach in, but Panda and the rest of the team now are actually in a pretty good position overall. Just need a couple more smokes. They got to watch out for Viper. If Tablet is coming out, are they going to be in the smoke coverage? No. Viper does get that kill here. That does give away their position, laying prone on that container. Panda going to confirm Kadei.
Gives information to Viper, though, and they try to find Panda on the backside. There's still one man left alive, and it's Poggerman, who was entering into the code by the objective. It could have been map 3 or map 2 locked in for Misfits. Instead, like you said, we go to a 3-3. We do go to that defensive round, and we do stay on the same objective. So what is going to happen here? Can VR Militia put another one on the board, or have they gone cold again, and Misfits are going to put up 4 unanswered points?
I mean, thinking back on that round, tactfully, it was a different choice than what most teams do, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just how they wanted to play it. And they ultimately do win. It was a 2-3 split with 2 on the right-hand side. It seemed like they were trying to get the utilities in on the larger areas and be a little bit more distracting, which did work for them in the end.
Yeah,
The one thing Misfits could have probably done was at least give an indication, I'm capping.
Right. Yeah, and to go back to the point we talked about earlier, you know, oftentimes teams will just have a spam click. So if you just, you click your radio, that click is audible to your team. You know, they can hear like it's an on and off sound of a radio turning on and off, and so you can use it as Morse code. And the typical go-to is just to click it as fast as you can a bunch of times, and that means to the team that a cap is happening. That means that as a team, you should not shoot the final defender, because if you do, you will only get 1 point. If you avoid shooting that final defender, and your teammate who tells you they are capping can punch the code in time, then you get 2 points instead of 1. So it is, again, to go back to the communication point, could have potentially netted themselves some points there. No reason to push the prone player there. They didn't see, Viper Ion did not see the push up to the objective, and so fortunate, I would say, honestly, for VR Militia, and we'll have to see how they do on their Marsoc round as we go back into the action for round number 6, technically, but the final round of this map 2.
I did see 2 folks checking the tablet for the code and at least getting that kind of memorized briefly there. Ooh.
Once in mid.
Couple of early kills. Uh-oh. Team flashbang there. Oh, maybe it didn't touch Kadei. They had to duck down a little bit late, but they are covering their eyes up with their hands, so it might actually indicate they are flashed.
So risky here with Kid K's position. They could get scooped up by Poggerman. If they're not careful, it's going to be Panda who actually finds the kill. And VR Militia are down to 2, and they're trapped on this side. If Misfits are feeling good, they should start applying some pressure. If they have an accurate kill count, which I think they do, they should start applying some pressure. But that's a big double kill. No 23 catches both Poggerman and Panda lined up, and suddenly they're behind the defense, who is just thinking about pushing and getting aggressive.
Kevin is all the way in the back, leaving number 23 all the way up front, who's now cornered by Big Mac. This is not looking good for them. Big Mac does at least duck down and pops back up with the kill, though. That does give them map number 2.
They will take the Series W, but like I said, we still play out that third map regardless of who is our champion here, and unfortunate to see, because I always do like the map 3 decider, but again, we'll still play that third map out, so we still will get some action here in front of us. Maybe it's going to be a place like Bazaar. It is going to be VR Militia's map pick, though, and so I imagine it's going to be more close quarters. Maybe Subway, as that's certainly on the table, but no. Bazaar is the choice for map number 3. And I think that lines up with their stats, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yes. For VR Militia, Bazaar have played it 5 times total. They've won it once. It's their second map win rate still, though, because they have had a handful of forfeits, it looks like.
Yeah, well, that will negatively impact your MMR and your win ratio, but we'll have to see. Bazaar, again, for those that maybe not in the know, a map that is close quarters. There's a little bit more of it, meaning that there's just it's a bit bigger of a map than both Suburbia and Cargo. Those are the 2 smallest maps in the rotation right now. But this map is still considered a close quarters map just because of the layout and how it's played, even though it does have some pretty long angles that can be used to catch out a kill or two, but ultimately it is also pretty heavily utility based, and so it is interesting to see these teams picking into maps that do require a pretty high level of both map knowledge and skill, right, for that utility to be successful. I mean, for smokes to be placed right, especially if you're trying to place an advanced smoke like throwing one over the roof of a building, you really got to know your map, you know.
And you have a lot more open areas you have to cross,
Right.
like with the streets and everything. So, and this market is pretty open as well, despite it all being a lot of little wooden shops. Those rounds can still go through and damage you. I mean, they could kill you if you keep taking a couple extra, but they do at least reduce the damage overall. I can't remember the exact rate it was. I thought I had it up at one point, but. Now, you can also shoot through some of these tin foil or these tin shacks here, too. You really just got to know what surfaces are penetrable and which ones aren't.
Yeah, and that, again, is map knowledge, practice, understanding of the game. How many scrims have you done? Have you learned from your mistakes in those battles? It is maps like these are a good test of a team and sort of how much they've been playing as a squad and been practicing. We do appreciate you patiently waiting for this map 3, as we have had a couple of disconnects and reconnects. Some technical resets have been needed for us to get into things, but we do not have any subs from either side, and we will be getting into the action shortly. Again, this is VR Militia's map pick, as Misfits picked into Cargo on, map number 2. They didn't pick side, and so I don't know. You know, there's an opportunity here where if Militia can do what they did on Cargo and start things off 3-0, take a 4-0 Bazaar, they are going to go down in rank very little. You know, the overall scoreline will be 8-7, and that is the best that they can do in this scenario right now. It's a big ask, but if they can do it, it's going to, again, really minimize how much this loss will impact them. Adversely, if Misfits do well on this map, it's going to be a big W, because they've got a 4-0 win in their pocket right now, and that is 4 points you have up on your opponent, even if you tie map 3. So they're looking good right now, and it's all a matter of now executing and kind of rounding things off with with a good solid map 3. Stay focused, even though you have the series win, and try and get these W's. But let's see what we get as we do get ready to dive into the action for round number 1. Our first objective going to be over by the tank. And this one's kind of interesting. I don't know that I've seen a defense I've really fallen in love with for this objective. you know, it is a tough OBJ to defend against, just really maybe because of the spawn points, but all of the potential entry points to this objective. There's you know, six plus that ways you can approach this thing.
Yeah, and there's not really a lot of positions that give you a lot of cover close on the uplink. You gotta really kind of adapt to that exploded methodology and maybe not put somebody nearby it, but control all the entryways.
Robbie's putting free fire down through some of those penetrable pieces you were talking about, just to see if they catch anybody, but they won't. And it looks like it's going to be a bit of a slow rollout here for Militia as they get that far west spawn. Never eat soggy waffles, and they're going to be pushing up from the north.
I don't believe there's a spawn over that way for this uplink.
I think
there's a quick spawn in the north,
there?
but it's not the one that they got, because they would spawn right behind the Coyote Hotel.
Ooh, Goldbagger does get a cross. Kid K is here and looking for it, but that's a big risk. Big Mac just crossing out in the open. They don't go down. Robbie almost scoops up Kid K for taking those shots, and Goldbagger continues to advance up to the objective, seemingly undetected, although Milwaukee is here and does take shots, almost scoops up the headshot, but can't quite hit it.
Big Mac, while relatively exposed here on this catwalk, is going to be a critical angle to at least be able to look down and on this courtyard, but also behind them. There goes Goldbagger, which does at least clear out this eastern courtyard until we do see Kid K start making a bit more of a move, but they're still sitting down, kind of waiting and seeing what happens here.
Yeah, Viperion could be a threat, but we'll have to see, as Milwaukee does rotate around here over onto this side. Could be caught out. No one seems to have the angle except for Kid K, but Milwaukee isn't going to take that much of a risk by pushing forward here. They're going to utilize these walls for cover and stay back closer towards objective. Big risk on this cross that they take, but they do manage to get across. And VR Militia, with only 3 left, have to figure out how they're going to approach this objective. But they have taken out 2, so it is a 3v3.
We're seeing a lot of movement around in from Misfits, which is a little bit unusual, especially on a larger map like this than Suburbia. We are getting a bit more communication out, though. Poggerman does call out the fact that there is one all the way here on the south, and that is Kevin. So they're going to reposition to at least get that angle there, but Kid K does go down to Robbie after poking out a little bit too far on the street.
Sorry.
Yeah, it looks like they were going to try and cross there, but they can't, and now Viperion is kind of wondering what the strategy should be here, because they can't get across unless they deploy a smoke. And, you know, oddly enough, it's only one smoke that they need here. You just need to smoke this doorway, and you nullify this entire defensive position, but the utility don't know if it's there, and to hit that smoke is pretty challenging where Viperion is, so I don't think we're going to be seeing that. I think Kevin's going to have to be sort of the key play here for VR Militia.
Yeah, looking over at Viperion, they only have a flashbang on their chest here, so it doesn't really help them getting across the street easily.
Callouts coming in. Kevin identifying their position to notify their teammates so that they can try and sync up on their pushing here. But will Kevin be long for the world as they do get closer and closer to Poggerman? Poggerman actually taking some early shots. Maybe they were trying to pre-fire the push up to the corner, but doesn't end up working out. Instead gives away their position to Kevin. Maybe they were unintentional shots. As Robbie gets rid of Viperion, it is all up to Kevin now.
Robbie did relocate while Viperion was out in the open there. So Viperion almost made it across. We are getting a little bit more fire exchange down here. Kevin is going to utilize a smoke to at least obscure Poggerman's vision, forcing them to rotate back out into the street, but they don't also have a lot of cover themselves.
Now Poggerman wins that negotiation, and Misfits take an early 1-0 lead on VR Militia's map pick, but it was their defensive round, and so we'll see if VR Militia can replicate that sort of success as they go on to the defense up next. But either way, this is the sort of start for what could be a dangerous W for the Misfits if they can keep putting on points here in Bazaar. We're getting some good math going on in Twitch chat there, discussing the penetration numbers. Love to see folks getting that in depth into the workings of a game like Onward. I know folks know exactly, how many bullets do how much damage to what limb and how much limb. There's all sorts of calculations that have been done out there by these teams so that they can understand exactly what's going to get them the kills they need and where they need to be targeting. And so my recommendation is shoot for the head. It'll be your best option in eliminating your opponent and preventing them from being rezzed. But obviously it's a little bit challenging in a game like this. We've been seeing missed shots coming through here from both sides, truly, and it's one thing that we almost never talk about is hitting your shots. I mean, oftentimes at the top tier, these players are so used to holding the gun that they're very familiar, and their shot is very good. For new players, it's still a fundamental that they have to improve on. Because, hey, it's hard to do. It's hard to stabilize your aim. It's something that you have to get comfortable with and used to. And whether you're using a mount or not, it is a challenge to hit your shots in a game like this. And so it's always interesting to see shots get missed because, again, we don't really see that happen very often at the very high level. But either way, exciting action here unfolding. And it looks like we are almost ready to get into our second round of the map, with VR Militia going on the defense, trying to put up a point on the board here.
Hey, yo, bro. Friday.
Yeah.
Nigga, this shit about to be on the venues, bro. You about to join Niagara? Watchers?
Hell yeah.
I was like, I gotta fix my audio, but he never talks.
Hey, yo, Nano, work.
Kid K doing a sick 360 there. We love to see it. I wonder if he actually jumped in his place and did a 360. He's sick to see a actually physical 360 shot. Would love to see that. Kid K's missing an opportunity to scoop up two on the cross, and oh, they get a cross. The real value of Kid K's position going unutilized there. Misfits are going to be able to set up nicely for their push, especially with those two there. To apply a good bit of pressure to the backside, while it's likely that both Robbie, Mwake, and Panda sort of worked their way from the front. Again, pinching into this defense. I do like the setup, though. It is pretty reserved. VR Militia is pretty tucked in. It's going to be a matter of Misfits pushing into them. Kevin's position as well, standing up there. They're obviously very vulnerable to this south push, which is the risk they take by taking this defensive position. And Big Mac Treeman is going to connect with the shots. They miss a few there, but ultimately they do land the two that they need to take them down. Does give away some information to Goldbagger, and so we'll see if Goldbagger can scoop up a couple of defensive kills here. Big Mac Treeman. Poggerman with a nice follow-up catches the kill through the wall. Now the pressure is going to be coming through this side. It's coming through from every side, actually, as Misfits also smoke objective and find a kill on objective. Panda could potentially push up. The objective defender is down. Kid K is the last one alive to hold things down, and they don't hit their shots. They do find Panda, unfortunately, because Panda could have killed them, and it could have netted them only 1 point, but instead, Mwake gets past Kid K, tucks into the corner, punches it in for two, and Misfits, just like that, have themselves a 3-0 lead. And maybe I cursed it because the opposite of what needs to happen for Militia is happening, and, well, Misfits are doing exactly what they need to do here. This is a powerful W that they're just about to lock in. They need one more defensive round, which they are going to get on that Humvee position in the center of the map. And we'll have to see how VR Militia attack this with really their backs against the wall. I mean, they need some points here to limit this loss.
Yeah, this one is a pretty tough one to actually get in on because of how many defensible positions that the Misfits really have in their pocket now. They have a handful of buildings and a couple of corners they can tuck into and just still keep an eye on the approaches into the uplink, which ultimately makes it harder for Militia to really kind of get in. They need to figure out that edge they're going to execute to get the Misfits knocked out 1 or 2 at a time here. If they get 2 out, they at least have a little bit more of a chance in, because those 3 then have to figure out how to reposition to kind of effectively form a triangle coming in, or at least a couple of angles to cover more like of a rectangular approach entry point. But ultimately, this one is lending a bit more of a favor in the Misfits.
Yeah, they're playing it pretty well too. You know, certainly deserved of this W as they're deploying good strategies, good call-outs, good utility. And it's surprising to me that they are currently in the bronze division. You know, I think it's maybe a result of going up against so many hard-hitting opponents that they suffered a series of losses in a row. And because it's their first season, their MMR is a little bit more flexible. But either way, this W is really what they did need to probably get themselves maybe back up into the silver division. But let's see what VR Militia can do on the attack, and if this is going to be our last round of the series as we go into it for round number 3 on map 3.
It seemed like they were a little unsure as to who was supposed to go which direction there. I'm going to start off for VR Militia.
Yeah, we've also been having a lot of time between rounds, so maybe an indicator that they are really trying to work out where to go, or maybe trying to deploy new strategies. Who knows? But either way, Robbie is going to kick things off for Misfits with a headshot onto Kevin. That's going to be no res available. Meanwhile, Milwaukee is on a big flank, and they catch one on the backside. There's still another right in front of them, and one more to their right. They could have 2 more in their pocket if they can find these kills. They only get 1.
Viper was entirely unsure of what had just happened. They didn't hear the footsteps coming in from Milwaukee, so they're even now still a little hesitant after that bit of exchange there between both guns. I don't know if they recognized which guns ultimately were firing, though, here.
I don't either. It looks like we also had a disconnect from VR Militia that was an active player, so now Militia is down to 2. In this 2v4, make it only 1 as Panda scoops up Goldbagger pushing in, and they have an accurate call count. Oh no, I think they died and then disconnected because they have an accurate kill count. They just said 1 left. So they obviously did eliminate the 4 here for Militia. This is a big cross back for Viperion, and it doesn't get shot at. They do manage to make it. But I wonder what the purpose of this was. Maybe to rotate all the way to the other side?
Yeah, they have 4 minutes to burn. Really, maybe more like 340, 345 kind of a thing. But it does seem to be a decent kind of a move, as on the mini-map we are seeing the one all the way in the south from the Misfits rotating back to where they were ultimately going to be approaching in from.
Shots come in. Do they connect? No. Big Mag Tree Man finds the kill with the SKS. And Misfits take a 4-0 map 3. What a odd series to tune into, but a fun one nonetheless. I mean, something happened there to Militia in the middle, where they turned into a different team on Cargo, you know?
Yeah. It seems like they were just a little bit more comfortable in the super close quarters.
Yeah.
But I mean, Suburbia, you kind of get a little bit of sense of that, but not as close. They were a different team there. It seems like they just maybe knew Cargo and how they wanted to play it more.
Yeah, maybe message to be received from Militia that they need to hone in their skills, their strategies, not skills, their strategies a little bit more on both of these maps. But either way, a fun series to tune into. Militia definitely putting a hard-fought battle here forward, but ultimately Misfits, with some good coordination, good utility usage, good plays, end up snagging themselves the W, and a big one at that. The total scoreline being 12-3. But in just about an hour and a half's time, that will be it for us here on the desk. Tomorrow, we have a lot of Onward action planned. Starting at 12 p.m. PST, we have a showcase live here on this channel. We will also then be getting into the Stack Up ProTube charity tournament starting at 1 p.m. PST over on twitch.tv/onward_VRML. and you're going to want to watch both of the action. Really, I would say go donate to the charity and then watch the venues, but also have both of them up because multi-streams are great and you can enjoy multiple bits of Onward action tomorrow afternoon. So do be sure to tune in then. But until then, my name is Ben Nightfire with 2 E's, my co-caster Grenade Magnet. Until next time, stay classy.